Welcome to Ask the Latina. I'm your host, Terry Beltran. This program is about the opportunity to ask and learn from a Latina trailblazer, with the mission to inspire and motivate Latinas to enter a career where we just do not have enough representation. For more resources, visit our website, askthelatina.com. Welcome to Ask the Latina. My guest is Dayna Martinez. She's an engineer, and she's going to give us an idea of what it was like for her journey going through engineering and all the education she had. She's a Latina that has a PhD, so I'm looking forward to hearing her journey in that. Thank you, Dayna, for being with us.
Thank you so much, Terry, for having me.
Well, let's start with your heritage, where you were born, growing up. At what point did you have an interest in engineering? Was it, in high school or going to college?
Sure, yeah. So I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. Both my mom and dad are also Puerto Rican, and I grew up in San Juan, between San Juan and Bayamon. My parents were divorced, but I did spend time with both of them. My mom lived in the metropolitan area, and then my dad lived more in like the countryside of Bayamon. So that gave me a bunch of different experiences growing up. And as to how I got interested in engineering, I think since a very young age, I had developed a curiosity for science and math. Those were my favorite classes while I was in school. And then, so like when you're curious and good at science and math, it's usually, or at least when I was growing up, the most like how do you say, like the careers, right, that line up with those interests were in that point engineering and medicine. And medicine didn't really caught my attention because I have not very good with blood or things like that. I just don't have the stomach for it. So I decided to go with engineering because of that reason. And then engineering has so many different majors that you can choose from. And even though I'm sometimes introvert, I am social, so I like being with people. And when I was looking at the different engineering options, it seemed like industrial engineering would give me the opportunity to do that. And that's how I went into it.
That's great. So, did you go to college in Puerto Rico or here?
Yeah, so my bachelor's, I did it in the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez campus. There are several options in Puerto Rico to get a bachelor's in engineering, but that's the public school and it's very renowned. And I got accepted. And even though it was farther from home and I had to leave closer to school, we decided to go with that option.
That's good. And what was it like as far as going through the classes? Did you find, well, being in Puerto Rico, I'm sure there was a lot of other Latinas in the class, right? Or was it still more men?
So yeah, so all classes were in Spanish, and um, yeah, so the majority, right, of people that attend college in Puerto Rico are also Latinos. So in that sense, I didn't see like that underrepresentation in that way. But yes, you could see more men than women in those engineering classes. And you could also see it with professors, right? More male professors than female professors as well. I also think like for me, high school was easier and that was kind of a wake up call when I went to college. I kept doing things like I did when I was in high school, and that proved very quickly to show that I was not going to be successful if I didn't, change the way I approach studying for classes and things like that. The first couple of years were very rough. From coming from getting straight A's without too much effort to getting my first F ever. Um, in an exam and having to again readjust, right? Not letting that bring me down too much because it did bring me down, right? But not letting that deter me from continuing on and just making the adjustments and asking for help and doing the things that I needed to do in order for it to be successful.
That's a good point. I think that, it happens to all of us. I mean, I did feel the same way that all of a sudden, it's totally different in college and you do work harder. Um, so
Hmm.
so it was good that you said you asked for help. So sometimes we think we can't ask or we don't know who to ask. So how did you determine who to ask for help?
So no, yeah, that's a very good point, right? Because there's something about like that we might feel like if we ask for help, we're not as smart or we are weak, and it's all the contrary, right? Asking for help shows, strength, and there are so many resources available to students at these universities. It's just a matter of finding them and knowing where they are. And the sooner you figure out what those resources are and where they are, the better. A lot of times, what happens is you find them, you know, a couple of years, 3 years into your degree, and you're like, oh, I hope I knew about this before. But there are tutoring services, there's mental health services, like professors and their office hours, right? Like a lot of times we feel like we're bothering the professor, and that's what they're there for, right? And a lot of times, and I can say this because I was also a professor for a while. We have those office hours, and students just don't come, and we are available to
Mm,
answer questions and to help and give that one-on-one help. But students just don't use them. So making sure, right, that you use those resources because they are there to help you out.
that's true. I heard in a panel a few months ago, there was a female engineer, and she said, "Ask the professors for questions because get your money's worth."
Yes, yes, for sure. And like there might be some professors that feel it as a burden, but I can guarantee you, like 99% of professors are willing and more than happy to help their students. Like they want to see you succeed, not the other way around.
Yeah, right. That's good. So you graduated industrial engineering. Where did that take you after that?
Yeah. So then after that, I had a professor talk to me about grad school. Like that was not in my plans at all. But that opened the door for me to check it out and see if it was a possibility for me, and it was. So I got a scholarship that covered for everything, and that's another thing too, right? That sometimes deter us from going to school is the monetary aspect of it,
Mhm.
and the same. Like there's so many scholarships and fellowships out there, especially for women, right? And in these um, fields where we are underrepresented that are just there for us to grab and use them. And a lot of time, they go unused. So I was able to get a full scholarship slash fellowship to go to graduate school and do my master's and PhD. And I did it all without any debt or anything like that. They actually also gave me a stipend so I could leave while going to school. So yeah, so if that's something that interests you, and maybe like me, you don't have not even thought about graduate school and going for a master's or PhD after graduating with your bachelor's, but um if that is something that you want to do, there are options and help for you to be able to do it too. And that's how I ended up at the University of South Florida in Tampa, doing my
Mm.
master's and PhD in industrial engineering. After seeing all the help that I was going to get, just in a matter of like what I'm getting to go to school and what I'm getting to get this job, you know, go and do this job for which I got a job offer. It just made sense for me to continue with school.
Yeah, definitely. Plus, you got it right away. So did you get your PhD right afterwards too, or did you have a time frame where you didn't?
So I did a combined program where I did my master's and PhD. It was a 5 year program. It took me six, but again, that's fine too, right? Like,
That's
um,
about average. I mean, really. I mean,
mhm,
it turned out,
mhm,
no, but you got both of them, so that's great.
yeah,
I
yeah,
never heard of a program where you have both, so that's really, fortunate that you're able to do both like that.
yes, yes. And usually, especially in engineering, I was told, and I saw it's true, professors usually prefer to finance a student that's going for their PhD directly. Because in terms of research, right, it makes more sense for them to have somebody for 5 to 6 years to work on research with them, as opposed, to just 2 or 3 with a thesis for a master's. So, yeah.
Right, and that's one thing I do know, when you have a PhD and you're at the university, you're doing research, but it's also part of your a job sort of in a way too, right?
Right, right, right,
So you're working on
correct.
research and, I know that's pretty interesting, I think. So did you enjoy that, and did you find some new things that you were able to develop for yourself going through that path?
For sure, yes. I always say that once you have done a bachelor's and a master's, a PhD is not so much an academic challenge, but a mental challenge, right? It tests your perseverance, your patience, how much you want this. Because academically, again, you have already gone through a bachelor's, you have already gone through a master. If you have done that, you can do a PhD, you can do those classes, you can go through the research. But I feel like it did test me in other ways.
Mm,
Um, that again, like in the moment, in some in some seasons of it, I might have felt, like, oh, I can't do this, or this is too much. Maybe I should quit. But pushing through it, at the end you develop so much character and so many other skills that I still have with me. And looking back, I think one of the things that I would do different is enjoy the process more. I feel like I was a little too stressed all the time. And now when you look back at it, right, and after, you gain some experience and you deal with other things like being married and having kids and stuff like that, you look back and you say like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Like I should have
yeah.
enjoyed the process more.
Yeah, when you're done, you have all this free time, you're like, "Oh, what" you balance everything, family, kids, and school. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So when you were going through this, what were you expecting as far as a career goes, and what was your first job after you finished your PhD?
Sure. I always love this question because I never had like that 5 year plan, 10-year plan, or anything like that. Like, my only plan was to get my bachelor's in industrial engineering and start working at a company and doing maybe manufacturing or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, it was never my plan to go to graduate school or to do any of the things that I've done really so far. But it's just like doors just kept opening to me, and just not, denying myself of those opportunities as those doors were opening. And a lot of times I was very afraid. I was terrified of, going down those paths. But I'm a firm believer that being afraid shouldn't be a reason not to do something, and that you should do it afraid anyways. And that's what happened with graduate school, right? Like I was not thinking on going to graduate school, and the door opened, so I went and I finished it. And then after that, a lot of door opened to me to do healthcare systems engineering,
Hmm.
and that's something that really caught my attention because it's still doing good with using engineering, and that's something that's part of my personality. Like I feel like I need to be whatever I'm working, I need to be doing something where I feel I'm making a difference. And healthcare systems engineering was doing that for me, in the sense that the work that I was doing by improving processes and lowering doctors and nurses mistakes and things like that
Hmm.
had a direct impact on the quality of life of patients, and that was very appealing to me. But that's something I didn't know I could do until going through graduate school and doing my dissertation. So then life moved me to Boston, where I was able to do a postdoc fellowship at Northeastern University at their Healthcare Systems Engineering Institute. And then there again, I continue to do that work with different hospitals in the Boston area, as well as research and as well as mentoring students that were doing engineering as well. And then after that, a door opened for me to join as a faculty member at the Northeastern Mechanical and Industrial Engineering Department. And again, like it was something that I had not planned. When I finished my PhD, academia was not my first choice.
Mm.
I wanted to go to industry. And then after discovering healthcare systems engineering, I thought I was going to join a hospital
Mm.
and work in their systems engineering or quality department. Um, but that door opened, and I said, let's do it. And that's how I ended being a faculty and being a professor for about 6.5 years.
Wow.
And that was also a great experience that taught me a lot as well.
That sounds really great. It sounds like you really enjoy being in the faculty area, and the research with the health sounded really interesting to me. You mentioned you mentored some students. Were there other Latinas or Latino students that you had a chance to mentor in Boston?
I did have a couple of them that were part of the institute, and that was great. Um, it was a great and rewarding experience for me to be able to show them that's possible for us to get to those positions.
Mhm.
And I always take with me some of the comments and things that they told me while I was mentoring and or teaching some of these students. I remember this one student in particular, female, that when I was teaching, I already had one kid. I was pregnant with the second, and she told me like she really appreciated me and showing her that you could have a career and a family
Mm.
at the same time, that that's possible, to do. Because a lot of times we hear, right, like it's one or the other, or it's
Mhm.
very hard, which is very hard to balance both, right? I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
but it is possible to do.
Yeah, that's right, it is possible. And then, like, it's interesting that you didn't wanna go into medical, but yet you ended up in the medical field as an
Yes,
engineer.
yes. So remember how I told you like I'm not good with
Yeah, yeah,
blood or anything like that, and then now I'm here doing this project on how to reduce the infections from um, putting central catheters on ICU patients. And
yeah.
here I am having to make observations in full bunny suit in an ICU room, seeing this nurse put this like huge needle all the way to the heart of this patient, and me trying not to like faint or anything like that. So I ended up still seeing things like this. Yes.
Wow. It seems like destiny just had you coming back there, but that
Yeah,
that
do
goes
it
to show that
somehow.
and it's great to see that in engineering, you can be in the medical field too, that's why we call it STEM, so it's really fulfilling, so
Definitely. And that's one of the things that I enjoy the most about industrial engineering, and is that it's not, you don't have a set industry that you need to work in. Like
Mhm.
industrial engineering just gives you this set of tools that you can use basically in any industry, in finance, manufacturing, health, banking, you name it.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. That's really good that you mentioned that 'cause I it does give you a lot of options, and you've proved that. So
Yes.
if you were to go back in time and back when you were in Puerto Rico and you were in, high school, knowing now that you're going on this path, is there something you would have advised yourself differently or just something that you think would have, been something you would have wanted to know?
I think one of the things, and I think you always hear this, but still don't like completely believe it. But it's that difference between high school and college, and
Mhm.
how the way you study and the way you approach it
Mhm.
needs to be different. I think like I heard it, but I really didn't pay too much attention to it. And I feel like if I would have gone with a different strategy to those first couple years, life would have been a little bit easier
Mhm.
for me. And I think the other advice that I would give myself is to, like I was saying, enjoy the process more.
Mm.
I feel like a lot of times, and I see it too, like in my nieces and in other students, you're so focused on getting that A in that exam, or making sure that you get that 4.0 GPA or something like that, that you forget to really enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. You don't realize that's really the years where you didn't have to worry about too much.
Right, right,
It
right.
was
And
like
I
school, that's it.
and I meet with our some of our graduate students now at CHIP, and they sometimes are like, "Oh, I wish I can get done with this already," and I'm like, "No, you don't.
Yeah.
you, no, you don't. You don't know what you're saying. You don't know what's
Right, right.
coming next. You
Exactly.
wanna, you wanna enjoy where you are right now. I know it's, easier said than done, but you really want to enjoy where you're at right now."
Yeah, that's so true. So now a SHIP, Society of Hispanic Engineers, tell us how you landed there and, what you how that was, that experience as far as shifting over from where you were with the medical and being, academics as far as, professor and everything.
So as much as I was enjoying my time as a faculty member, because of the students and the teaching part, there was a couple things from academia that I was not enjoying so much. And then with COVID, I got
Mhm.
a little burnt out, and I just felt stuck, and like I needed a change. And that's something in my personality too. Like whenever I feel stuck somewhere and I feel like I need to challenge myself
Mhm.
or change environment so I can continue growing, instead of just sitting in it and complaining and feeling sorry for myself. Again, I do a little bit of that. I'm not saying I don't do it. I think it's normal and it's okay to do it. But you don't want to stay in that place, right? You want to look for options, and try to get out of that place, in order to be able to continue growing. And
Yeah.
so I was looking for options. My family relocated back to Florida from Boston, so I left my faculty position, and I was thinking about what to do next. And I saw the position with CHIP as a program manager with the Research and Innovation Office. And as I read the description, I was like, I can do this, and I really want to do this. I was familiar with CHIP because I was a CHIP member as a student,
Mhm.
both undergraduate and graduate. So I was very familiar with the mission and what they have done to help me as well, because
Mhm.
I even got a scholarship with them as a graduate student. Um, so I was very familiar with the mission. I already loved the organization. So I said, "What? Why not? Let me apply." And also the possibility of having an impact that was bigger than just my small Hispanic community at Northeastern was very appealing to me because CHIP is national, right? So then I could help advance that mission at a national level, and that's how I ended with CHIP. I've been with CHIP for over a little bit over a year. I'm now a director for the Research and Innovation Office. I oversee some of our pre-college programs as well as our parent programming, research, and data analytics. And one of my favorites, which is graduate programming. And I say it's one of my favorites because I think it's very important to increase, Hispanic, Latinx representation in academia. And the way to get there is getting more of us through graduate school and in those academic positions. So that support, providing that support to our graduate students and our faculty is very, very dear to my heart.
Yeah, that's good, yeah. I used to be president of National Society of Hispanic MBA, so and that was kinda like kind of the similar mission to get more Latinos to go from a bachelor's to a master's because we didn't have that much, so I think that's
Hmm.
excellent that you have that program with SHIP because definitely
Yeah.
to continue that is very important. Would you like to see a PhD program also be developed? In supporting, Latinos in engineering, I mean, do many of them want to continue and go to PhD or it's kinda hard to tell?
I think like this the awareness, right? Like this is really an option for
Mhm.
you. I feel like a lot of us once we finish our bachelor's and get that amazing job offer, we often overlook graduate school.
True.
But the reality is, right, like nowadays too, with positions being more specialized and research based and data analysis based, going to graduate school does give you a competitive edge if you want to go to those more, advanced positions.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's
hmm
good. Well, thank you, Dana. I think, that you gave us a full circle of what it's like to pursue industrial engineering and all the things that you can do with it as far as even continuing your education and I think it's great. I think that that's really important because there's so many different fields in engineering, and for Latinas to see that and where you went and how the experience was great. Plus, you also studied in Puerto Rico and in Florida, so it's kind of unique and having that experience. I think it really
right,
helps a lot to have the culture understanding, especially in Florida.
right, right. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So anyway, so thank you again, Dana, for being with us. I really appreciate it. And do you have anything else you wanted to add or
No, I think just the same as I mentioned before, and it's like that, if the reason you're not pursuing one of these careers, right, is because you're afraid or because you think it is too challenging or maybe you just feel like you can't make it, it's again, it's okay to acknowledge those thoughts, those feelings, but don't let those like just deter you from following that pathway. Because again, like I was mentioning, there's so much support, there's so much help, not only financially, but also academically, mentally. It's just a matter of tapping into those resources. And something that I always say, I'm just this normal girl from Puerto Rico. Like I don't have anything special. I was not the smartest, or I am not the smartest either. But if I could make it, like if I could do all of these things, when I say this, I truly believe it 100%. Any other girl can do it too. So
yeah, you're right. That's good. And never give up, that's for sure. So thank you. I appreciate that. That's really good advice. Well, thank you. And this concludes our episode with Esa Latina. We've really enjoyed having Dana with us, and I hope that you will come and join us for the next episode. Thank you.